All right, everybody. We've got another very special guest for everybody today. Everybody, please welcome to the show Fred Van Lente. Welcome,
Hey,
Fred.
thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm honored. It's a privilege to have you here for many reasons. I mean, if nobody knows, Fred's worked. I mean, is there anywhere you haven't worked in the industry? That might be a shorter list.
A short list at this point. I did a book for Oni, but it was never published. I did a Rick and Morty one shot that Warner Brothers killed because they said the art was off model, which is nonsense. But I got a check from them, so I feel like that counts as me working for them.
Yeah, that counts. That
You know,
counts definitely.
I have to
So,
think harder.
Fred, maybe this is different, but I feel like a lot of people, especially my age, know you from your time at Marvel.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I first fell into your work and started to follow your career. And one of the things I love following it is like I just said, you've worked everywhere, but you haven't done necessarily the same thing everywhere.
Right.
And one of the things that I found along the way, something I didn't realize you did, but I absolutely love, is this action series you've done at a few different
Sure.
publishers. I think right now it's at Rocket Ship Entertainment.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's right now as Action Philosophers. It was Action Presidents at one point, and now you're doing Action Philosophers. Am I reading this correctly that it's an all ages historical book?
Well, believe it or not, Action Philosophers #1 and my very first Marvel book, Amazing Fantasy #7, came out on the same day in 2005.
Oh,
And
wow.
because of the way the alphabet works, right, they were racked next to each other frequently. But you see, I had broken my ankle and I couldn't go to the comic book store. So the great Ryan Dunleavy, who is the artist on the Action Philosophers, Action Presidents, now Action Activists series, went to it was Jim Hanley's universe, which was across from the Empire State Building, and took a photo of that and sent it back to me, which was pretty cool. So I'd been struggling to get in the industry for years, and then I have two books on the same day. Not only come out on the same day, they're racked next to each other, and I couldn't go and see them. So that's just the way life works sometimes.
That's awesome.
And to answer your question, Action Philosophers was our first series. It's a little more. I mean, we think it's all ages. There's a lot of like fart and sex jokes in it. It's the history's A-list brain trust told in a hip and humorous comic book fashion. And we did comic book history of comics. We did Action Presidents is our middle grade series. That is for younger readers. That's for HarperCollins. And we do a comic series called Action Activists for the social studies program for the New York City Department of Education, which is, believe it or not, one of the larger comic book publishers in the country. Each issue of their books, and they've done stuff with Greg Pak and Kelly Sue DeConnick and Andrew Iden and all sorts of fantastic creators. Those comics get distributed to about 80,000 kids. So you're looking at a print run of between 80 and 100,000 copies per issue. So hence one of the larger comic book companies in the country is the city of New York. Who knew?
That's very interesting. Yeah. I just love the idea of trying to hit. Not only do I like trying to hit younger readers, get them into comics, get them addicted like we are, because I want to be reading comics in the when I'm retired. But I also like the idea of let's add in a little bit of education here. Somebody that loves history and political theory and all that stuff. I studied a lot of that when I was younger and still read a lot about it today. Hitting kids with that stuff seems important, especially looking around today.
Our demographic is mostly adults who either had a philosophy class in college or majored in philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
But we've certainly handed them out to a lot of kids. The Rocket Ship series you mentioned, which was first funded on Kickstarter, the difference between that and all the other editions of comic, we had a hardcover at Dark Horse. We originally published them ourselves through our own company, Evil Twin Comics. The difference with the Rocket Ship editions, particularly if you're an old-time Action Philosophers fan, these comics are now in color. Well, before it was a black and white series.
That's really cool. And kind of sticking in the same realm, but let's hit more of our nerdy sides here. You did this book, I think it was last year, Game Masters through, I'm zoning on the publisher now, but
Clover Press.
Clover, that's correct. And it's a history comic about RPGs and specifically tabletop RPGing. what's your history with? I mean, have you been into that stuff since you were young?
Oh yeah, since I was 12, and I should point out that unlike every other, well, not every, but most of my other nonfiction comics, I was drawn by the great Tom Fowler. I worked with first at Marvel, and I've done a book at Image with, who's a great guy and a fantastic artist. And I actually approached him about doing the comic book story of Basketball, which I did for Random House. But he wasn't into that, but he was into D&D. So, and I, as am I. I mean, I got the D&D book at 12, all through college. Didn't really always play Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, it's not really my favorite game, mostly because the high fantasy thing is not really my bag. But I've been a consistent player. When I kind of went pro as a comics creator, I stopped because it felt too much like work. But then I got into it back in my 40s, and I've been just kind of going full guns ever since. And so doing Game Masters was just a real dream come true. And we kickstarted last year, and it actually just showed up in stores like last month. So if you didn't back the Kickstarter last year, it should be on the shelves right now.
Yeah, I remember seeing the press releases about it, and I love the idea because we always talk about how these two worlds are so intertwined. I mean, for me personally, I play D&D at the comic shop.
There you go.
So they are literally intertwined in my life. And we've seen so much of D&D as an IP and some of the other games out there as an IP turned into comics, but to actually get the history behind them, like I'm somebody who I get into something and I want to know everything about it. So,
right. Well, this book's for you then.
Yeah. So I've been wanting to check this book out. I remember like last year reading Gary Gygax's biography that they put out and a bunch of other stuff. So just having that as a part of it seems really interesting.
Which Gygax biography did you read?
Oh man, it was like I'd have to look it up to remember.
One of them was a comic book. Would you read the graphic novel one?
No, so when I'm at the gym, I'm listening to audiobooks. So I did an audiobook version of it. I didn't realize it was a graphic novel. I might have to check that out now. Not that I know enough to read.
I have not read the graphic novel. I know that was kickstarted a while ago.
Yeah.
I don't know the title off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was a very interesting book, though. And I guess my main question here is, how much different is your process going into something that's nonfiction in the comic form than it would be for a creator-owned book like your recent title, The Future Is?
Well, obviously the main difference is I can't really make stuff up for the nonfiction stuff. I mean, I tell jokes, obviously. I'm I'm a wise ass that's kind of my brain functions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of reading, a lot of research. Oftentimes I just sit down and put all my research. I work with a wonderful word processing app called Scrivener that makes it very easy to sort of do things in chunks and rearrange the chunks and then merge them all together. It's what you might suspect. You go to places, you talk to people, you read stuff, highlighter in one hand, and then you got to kind of distill it into something that's fun and readable, and frankly is not just a wall of text in a comic book, which nobody likes in any genre.
Do you have anyone checking on you do your research? Do you have anyone checking it to be like, oh, this thing or that thing doesn't work?
No, well, it depends. Depends on how big the publisher is. Okay. Game Masters, it was pretty much all me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, man. Like, in fact, the first thing this isn't technically a technical error, but literally the first thing I saw when I got my copy from the printer, I picked it up, typo. It always tries to make your head explode. They're like cockroaches. You just stamp them and stamp them and stamp them, but still they crop up. It's really annoying.
When something like that pops up,
we have a new guest in the podcast who won't.
Oh, there we go. Mine's asleep in the other room, so
was sleeping, but he hears my voice and on the podcast, and he's like, "The man is talking to ghosts again. I can't see the other person. What's happening?"
Mine, she just likes to be in the same room as me.
Yes, this one.
So, yeah, just like being over there sleeping. Like if I leave this room, she'll go to whatever room I'm in and sleep there then.
He has a ritual. So soon you'll see a different part of my office from the camera view because he's going to try to lie on the computer.
When you find typos, I'm sure you find them all the time. I mean, when I'm reading month to month comics. I find them even in my Marvel and DC books.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they happen. Do you get a second, like when they reprint that, can you go to them and be like, hey, this was
Yeah.
wrong, I need this fixed?
Yeah, particularly, I mean, Action Philosophers, the first issue of Action Philosophers came out in 2005. And it has been more or less in print continuously for the past 20 years. That is the only book I'm fairly certain there's almost no typos in, simply because it's gone through so many iterations and has been, looked over so many times that, it's like been distilled like a fine liquor, with the mash and the, what, you want back up? You want back up? He does not. He wants to wander around the desk and be part of the interview. Fair enough.
Yes.
Other than Action Philosophers specifically, which has been, in so many different versions for so long, every other book, it's like the first thing I see is some, typo. The worst one was I called, now I'm going to screw up his name again, the NBA commissioner. What the heck is from the Jordan era? David Stern. I called him David Stearns, who was one of the wet bandits from Home Alone. That was super annoying. But yeah, it's just makes you want to jump out. It makes me want to jump out a window, but I don't. I'm not self-destructive.
So I also have to do this to you because it is unironically one of my favorite comics and one of my favorite characters, something you did at Marvel. And I found my trade. So we got to talk about, how much fun did you have working on Modok's 11?
Oh yeah, that was great. That's a great story too, because that was my second ever book at Marvel. And I had done a little indie book with my buddy Steve Ellis called The Silencers that was about a mafia family, or excuse me, the superpowered mob enforcers who have to go independent when the mafia family they work for gets rubbed out. And so that got good review in Wizard, back when there was Wizard. And I kind of got the Marvel gig on the basis of that. And so I thought, okay, well, they hired me for Silencers. Let's bring back Supervillain Team Up, which was a comic from the 70s, but it was mostly starring Doctor Doom and Submariner that I really liked. And I sent them a list of like, can I use Doctor Doom? No. Can I use Namor? No. Can I use Red Skull? No. Can you use Magneto? No. Just Sabretooth? No. Like, it's just this long list of like, no, 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 no. The only character on my list I put down that they let me use was MODOK. So I got the idea that because MODOK is the butt of so many jokes, he gets together this cadre of like loser supervillains to pull a super heist. Mm-hmm. And somehow that got greenlit, and somehow it came out. What's funny is Francis Portela drew it, and they didn't even come out for like a year later. I thought my career was over, but then finally did come out, and people really dug it. So thank you for saying that. I love that book.
It's phenomenal. It's one of those things where growing up, I feel like we're kind of in a brand new golden age of comics where if you enjoy a property, they will eventually make a comic about it.
Well, a good one, hopefully, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And growing up, I remember I was always attracted to some of the, what you call like the B-list villains, which is like sure. MODOK, the Spot, like kind of the more goofy ones, but they were so much fun in their appearances. And so when somebody told me that book existed, I immediately picked it up and was like, this is everything I wanted from like a MODOK book. Like,
people
give
like
me more of this.
Stories.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said you came up with this idea after going through your list and basically getting to the last one and them saying yes. Did you have a love for this character, any of these characters going in? Or was it kind of this is what they gave you permission for and you said, hey, let's make it work?
I read Spider-Man in the 80s, so I like Puma a lot. Most of the other characters, I, as a kid, had essentially memorized the official handbook to the Marvel Universe. So almost all those characters I remembered, particularly like Armadillo and Nightshade, from my Marvel handbook knowledge. And it's funny, I got this sort of reputation at Marvel because I had not read Marvel comics since like 1990. So everyone was like ripping off Bendis, and like that was like the new hotness, was like New Avengers and stuff. But I'd never read any of that stuff, you know. So I guess I'd read like maybe some of the Grant Morrison, Frank Whiteley X-Men. Like that was my only knowledge of modern Marvel. So all of my references were so dated, and people kind of thought I was doing like a shtick. Like, oh, you're the retro guy. I'm like, not really. This is what I know. You know what I mean? Like I'm only writing what I know. And you know, it worked out well. You know, I mean, if you've seen I assume you've seen the Modok Hulu show.
Yes.
And so, you know, Jordan and Patton Oswalt, Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt, who are now doing minor threats for Dark Horse, they were very nice to me, and they really liked Modok's 11. And they named an elementary school after me in the show. There's a Van Lente High School in the second episode, which we all really got a kick out of. Take that, Tony Stark! I've got a thing named after Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But with the funny thing is Patton actually wrote the episode that was like the Modok's 11 adaptation. But I think the only one from the comic that he used was Armadillo, because they explained to me, the showrunners explained to me that just because I love I'm such a Spider-Man guy, most of Modok's 11 are Spider-Man villains, and they're all owned by Sony. Like Sony has the TV rights to them, so they couldn't actually use the actual crew from Modok's 11. So they had to kind of mix and match. And frankly, it's a 25-minute stop motion animation puppet show. I couldn't have used 11 characters anyway.
Well, it also works because much like Batman, like Spider-Man has so many villains that, of course, he has so many B-list or Z-list villains. And
I mean, Rocket Racer. I mean, I now realize I probably should have gotten Hypno Hustler in there somewhere, but.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
Maybe when we do Modok's 12. Sadly, there are no plans for Modok's 12.
I was gonna say, you seem to be having a lot of fun doing things outside of the big two. Have you ever had gotten the call or had the itch to go back and do something with either?
No, not yet. I mean, I don't, yeah, it's not up to me. I'm working with a lot of people who did work at Marvel. Most of the people that employ me now either worked at Marvel or Valiant. Yeah, I mean, it's they know where I am. They invited me to the Fantastic Four screening on Wednesday, so.
Oh, awesome!
They have my email address. I mean, I'll stick with free movies for now. I'm pretty busy. Other projects.
So speaking of busy, before we get into the future, I also came across that you did a script writing course online for Domestika.
Domestika, yeah.
What could to anybody out there that may want to get into writing comics, what can they expect from this?
So it's a very 101 bare bones course. It basically starts from idea to script format to how to visually storytell, and basically by the end of it, you'll have an 8-page script. We also go into building your career, finding an artist, that kind of good stuff. And yeah, it's about an hour and a half long. If you get it through Domestika, it's yours. You have permanent access to it. They're a great company. They're out of Madrid. We shot it here in New York. And the other thing they're great about is they always do a lot of discounts. So like you can get it for 99 cents, so they do a really good job with that. So yeah. And if you are interested, there's the trailer video, which is a minute or two long, is on my website, the homepage, fredvanlente.com. So check that out if you want. See if it's right for you.
Awesome. So let's jump into what we really came here to talk about, which is your newest series from a new publisher, which I'd love to get into that too, which is The Future Is. Woo-hoo. First, how did you get in with the publisher and jumping into like a new company?
So RECA is sort of a unique publisher. Spell it backwards. It's hacker. And they are owned. I don't know if they're necessarily a subsidiary, but the folks who run them also run a company called Black Hills Information Security. And they're what's known as white hat hackers. They're the people trying to stop the bad hackers. And they usually do this by something called pen testing, in which they're hired by, corporations, banks, casinos, that kind of stuff, to go in and test their security, try to break in. They're being hired to break into other people's places, basically. If you've ever seen the movie Sneakers with Robert Redford, it's a great movie. It's better than Hackers. Sorry, Angelina Jolie. But that's kind of what they do. And so their marketing guy, Jason Blanchard, used to work for Diamond. he used to own a comic book store in Florida, and has got this big comics background, and thought a great way to teach people how to hack. They're very big on teaching people how to hack themselves. And they're like, let's try a comic. And I sort of became involved because I think initially they were thinking of doing a nonfiction comic, not unlike the Action series you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking, we had some meetings, and eventually they decided they wanted to do talk about the future of hacking. And so that's sort of where the whole world of the future is came about. And just I had some meetings with them. We had some great talks. And based on the stories they were telling me, based on stuff that happens in 2025, I sort of extrapolated that into years in the future. So very much sort of a cyberpunk milieu in a world sort of festooned with augmented reality. For those of you who don't know what augmented reality is, if you ever played Pokemon Go, that is augmented reality, right? You see the Pokemon, superimposed over the real world. And basically, it's a world where the hacker wars are over and the Black Hats won. You don't have rights anymore; you have terms of service. But there is this group called Black Mountain, which is a renegade, independent hacker group run by this mysterious figure Wheeler, who goes out and helps people and saves them from sort of technological nightmares and bad situations from bad actors, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's sort of like Mission Impossible meets Black Mirror, or as a retailer called it, a hopeful Black Mirror. The future isn't decided. The future can be hope, and I think that's something we're really trying to convey with our stories. We're like almost an anti-dystopia.
So I kind of want to go back to publisher. They wanted to get into this as a teaching method. Is that what I was getting from that?
So my work, I get why the stuff I do nonfiction wise is called educational. But I don't, I think it's entertainment it's nonfiction. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Nonfiction. And yes, I think that to a certain degree, RECA and Black Hills do want to teach people how to do hacking. But the way they would do it is, for example, the mere title, we're calling it The Future Is, but really you can see from the cover, it's The Future Is, and there's 6 asterisks.
Yes.
And many people think that means the future is fucked, which was sort of the amusing, original idea it was. But what they really also want to get people into comic book stores. So each issue of The Future Is has its own unique, what they call CTF or Capture the Flag challenges, hacks you can do yourself. Mm-hmm. One of the hacks in every issue is that the 6-digit, or not digit, character code for each issue is different. And so the first, I guess I can spoil. So for example, oh no, I actually forgot what the first issue's code is. I'm gonna have to ask Jason. Anyway, so there's because the first issue, the other thing that is, the first issue's over 100 pages long. It's for $12, so it's a super steal. The direct market edition, which you've got in your hand, is the limited edition Kickstarter hardcover. And so it's $12.27 in the direct market, which is a hacker joke. Turn it upside down, it says elite as an elite. Each subsequent issue is $4.04. Get it? So they're very puckish and fun loving, and in addition to this cyberpunk science fiction adventure story with that's sort of this Mission Impossible crew of hackers in the future, you also have all these CTF challenges that folks can do, and there's a leaderboard, and they got a whole thing going on. There's there's dedicated URLs and stuff, so it's just a whole thing.
Yeah, I noticed when I was reading it, there's a bunch of web addresses throughout it, and I think I tried one of them, and if I'm being honest with you, it wanted me to create an account, and I just I didn't want to do that. But also, I saw a few QR codes and different things, so that's all the it's learn to hack kind of things.
It's I don't know if it's learn to hack, but it's definitely do hacks.
Do it fun hacks for people to do.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting concept. I mean, how much of that How much of that was you, and how much of that was them? How much of it was both?
I mean, I wrote. There's a bunch of like Watchmen style text pieces in the graphic novel that I wrote,
Uh huh.
but then they have a separate company, the name of which unfortunately is eluding me. They go out and actually do all the CTF challenges for them, and it's a company that basically specializes in hacking games. I mean, I think almost more than educational. They're really more like it's gamifying the comic, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and it's super fun, and we've gotten a fantastic reaction to it from the hacking community. We did a tour actually of the South, where there are a lot of military bases and a lot of hackers. We went to a hacking convention in Tampa, Florida, where we gave away like 200 or something. So it's just had a fantastic reaction from the both from the hacking community and the comics community. And as I said, Jason, one of the masterminds behind the company, owned a very well-known and well-regarded comic store called A Comic Shop in Florida, and I think in Orlando, the Orlando area. And he wants to get people into comic book stores, right? So,
Yeah.
it's really the main place to get the comic. And then we're going to do Kickstarters for the hardcovers, basically.
Yeah, that is a really cool idea. I kind of wish I dug deeper into that when I was reading it, because I do like the idea of trying to do something outside of the comic with the comic. I mean,
Yeah,
I think of No One doing the podcast that goes
sure,
along with the book, things like
sure.
that, to enhance the experience if you really want to dig deeper.
Exactly.
So, read the first issue. We got the story here. So basically, we have like you said, the future where all that's happening, and we've got a very Elon Musky character that's on the moon.
Sure. Like a billionaire. His shtick is sort of a self-made, or he's not. He started with $1 million, and now he's got $1 billion sort of character.
Yeah, I got the idea that you were going for that particular person with the comment in the book about his daddy owning a mine.
Yeah. Basically, a billionaire has gotten fed up with the world, told to go fuck itself, and has relocated to the moon, to an abandoned ESA, European Space Agency moon base. But he's brought a lot of rich buddies with him and a lot of servants who it turns out are maybe not there willingly. And the team has to go rescue them.
Yeah, and things are being done to them that, while not necessarily cruel, aren't exactly good either.
Yes.
I don't want to spoil that reveal to everybody, because that was a fun moment in the book. But one of the things that I did notice is the character goes up there to save everybody.
Right.
He's wearing like you said, there's a lot of AR throughout the book. He's wearing an AR glasses, basically.
Right.
And it reminds me of something that Microsoft put out years ago that died on the market, like most things Microsoft does. Did you
Google
do a lot of
AR.
research into the Google AR? Or no, not Google. It was Microsoft AR. I remember they did a concept.
The Google version of that is Google Glasses, and then Apple currently has one called Apple Vision. Is it the Oculus? Was that the Microsoft one? There's been a bunch of these AR glasses.
I think it was just Microsoft AR. I remember particularly them doing a video of them playing Minecraft with it, where they had a table,
Right.
and Minecraft was there and you could play it. This was years and years ago, before Google AR. How much did you dive into the well of what these things do and how they function to make it function in your world?
Jason Blanchard gave me a book called Second Sight, or Super Sight, might be Super Sight, that's talking about all the implications of AR. Which, I mean, essentially, the difference, right, between VR, right, which is just the goggles where you put it over your face, and I'm on stage with Alicia Keys or whatever, that kind of like experience. This is more like you've stuck the internet on your eyes. Like, again, I always make the comparison to Pokemon Go. It's a layer over reality, and Wheeler actually is old school because he uses the glasses. Everybody else, and this becomes clear in later issues, has the AR ray directly implanted in their brains. So they've dumped the whole. It's like, imagine your cell phone, but you no longer need the cell phone. It's all just beamed right under your eyes. For a lot of people, that's a very exciting thought. For a lot of people, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And we try to look at both sides of that.
Yeah, I always think of it as if you ever play like a first-person shooter game and you have the HUD around you.
Yeah.
I always think of those glasses give me like my own personal HUD.
Yeah.
You said it becomes more clear in future issues, which I guess from reading the first issue, I almost thought that everybody had like contacts in or something, because there was a hint that everybody's using this, but
yeah,
it was. Did you have issues with that when creating it and working with the artist? Because I thought the way characters worked in the book, without spoiling too much, you have characters that change form based on the AR.
right.
And keeping those characters consistent and realizing who they are as you're reading the story could be easily be confusing. And I didn't find that in this issue.
Well, that's good.
How much did you really dive into that, especially with your artist, to like make sure these things are working the way they need to?
Yeah, Ennio Buffy out of Milan is a real untapped gem. He's a real, superstar in the waiting, and I hope we can get as many issues out of him before someone steals him from us. It's a lot of attention to detail. He kind of got it immediately, though, with minimal explaining. Weirdly, because the way the process worked, and this, I think, certainly helped the graphic novel, the first issue was actually the third one he drew. So the second issue he actually drew first, and this is because we were going to roll them out differently. So the way this series is currently structured is we open with this big quadruple-sized issue that shows everybody on an adventure. Then we double back, and the second arc is actually how the team came together. And each issue is done in ones of the characters' origin stories, essentially. And so, and originally we were going to start with that. So Ennio actually drew the second issue, which is the history of the character Martina, and the fourth issue, which is the history of the character Sally Chu, first. So the good news is, by the time we did this very complex heist story, he was already super familiar with the world and knew how to operate it. So it was kind of a bass-ackwards way of doing it, but I think ultimately it was super, super helpful.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I talk about a lot in the show, but I love that version of storytelling. Like, I don't need to come out and need the origin story right away. Throw me in the world and let me catch up.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to get involved in a world and a story, especially a new one.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So you guys have 3 issues out right now. Correct. Yeah. How many is this going to be? Something you have a long-term plan for, or so an ongoing series?
It will be 60 issues. That's right. I said 60. 60. That's 5 years worth of material if you are doing the math. I am currently working on issue 20.
Wow.
Issues 1 through 8 are basically done. And the next one up is 4. And the 4 has been done for a while. 4 was one of the ones that Ennio drew first. So, yeah. So the short answer is yes.
So you guys have a nice long tail ahead of you, where at least the next 5 issues are guaranteed to be on schedule, which is probably a nice feeling.
Yeah, I mean, again, we got people drawing. Mario, our second artist, is on issue 8, which is the first issue of the second arc. Depends how you count the arcs. The first issue is an arc unto itself, because it's essentially 4 issues in one.
And do you see, you got 60 issues in you with this? How has working with this publisher been for you? Being a new publisher, somebody's not necessarily in the comics world.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. This isn't their first comic. They did a adaptation. I don't know if you can accurately call it an adaptation of a very well-known podcast in the hacker space called The Dark. I'm going to screw it up. I think it's called The Dark Web Files. And then they did a very fun kind of humor comic that Joe Keating, my current editor and a great comic book writer in his own right, did with the great Rob Guillory of Chew fame, called Bear versus Bear. That's a fun little silent humor comic. So they're not totally unknown to comics. This, the future is the first of their titles to actually be distributed in comic stores. And as you know, there's all sorts of this wackiness going on with Diamond and distribution in general. So there's a bit of a scramble, but we are comfortably with Lunar. So tell your store to order it through Lunar.
And do you guys got any big plans coming up for San Diego?
I know Joe and Adam Freeman, our publisher, who I knew at Valiant, and he is really the reason I ended up with these guys. They're doing a hacking comics panel. I saw it on Instagram at some point during the week. Yeah, I'm not going to be there, but they will be. Talking the future is.
Yeah, and I can see on their website they've got some ash cans that they're going to have available if you're at the show as well.
Oh, good. They finally updated the website.
I will say my only critique for them is their website is focused more on their information security stuff and less on their comics, so it is hard to get information from there.
Yes, like I said, I think that might have something to do with the fact that they're trying to drive people to the stores, which is, a perfectly, cromulent way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see that they're interested in getting people in stores. Like, we need more people in the comic shops, so that's always a good thing. And just anything else about the book moving forward you want people to know they're going to be checking it out?
Well, I mean, if you want a exciting, interesting, beautifully drawn world to lose yourself in that is going to be around, right? It's they're going for saga length here, which I think is fantastic. Jump on board. We're only chugging through our second arc, which is paradoxically the origin arc, which has a bunch of done-at-once in it. So, and soon everything will be in trade and readily available. I think they're going to do the first trade, the first direct market trade is going to be a monster. It's going to be like the first 8 issues in some giant, phone book you can kill a man with if you want to.
Got a few of those.
So, it's been so much fun. It's a world people are really getting behind. It's had a fantastic online response, and I think people will dig it.
Yeah, I can confirm to everybody out there, it's a cool science fiction, like near future world.
A
lot of action, a lot of good moments, a lot of good, like you said, it's a heist book. The first issue at least is a heist book, and you get those great moments throughout it where things kind of turn on their heads, and moments that I feel are very unique from stuff I've read or I am reading right now. So
awesome.
I definitely recommend it to anyone out there, especially if you are similar to my taste out there. Check it out. And then, just to end everything, Fred, where's the best place to send people? You do a lot of social media, just anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, on Blue Sky and Facebook and X/Twitter, although I don't really go there very often anymore. Just my name. My website is fredvinland.com, and there's an email link to me there. On my website, you can sign up for a newsletter. Don't worry about me spamming you. I am terrible with my newsletter. I never send them out. But please sign up. Whenever I have a new Kickstarter, I'm always sending that out to the newsletter. So the Action Philosophers Volume 3 Kickstarter will actually be starting in the fall.
Well, there you go, everybody. Something else to look forward to.
That'll be the final volume.
And if you're out there watching or listening, remember, check out the show notes down below. I'll have links to a bunch of the stuff we talked about, including Fred, and most importantly, Fred's website. So you can go check everything out that he's doing. And yeah, Fred, it's a real pleasure having you on the show.
No problem. Thanks, brother.